Hey everybody, welcome to Sirgocast. This is our first episode. My guest today is Matthew Sirgo, my little brother. We'll be looking at the movie The Spirit of Christmas as part of our Shitty Movie Sundays, which we've been doing for a long time now. But this is the first format we've tried. We're going to walk through the movie step by step. We have an Instagram account, Sirgocast, and we also have a Twitter, @SamSirgo. We have a YouTube channel, Sirgocast, and be sure to check them out. Okay, so we'll get started.
All right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You had to drive 3 hours to get here, so you didn't have to come. I really wanted to start doing this just based on some of the other ones that I've watched. I love them. I love watching podcasts, and I wanted to start off with something that everyone can get behind, which is just what we've been doing since forever, which is Shitty Movie Sunday.
Yeah.
And we had Shitty Movie Sunday last night. We watched an incredibly terrible movie, but I feel like as the podcast goes on, I'm going to start having more and more serious conversations with people. And the best place to start a conversation is on common ground. And what better way to have commonality than to go through a terrible experience together?
Yeah.
So I think every podcast will just start with both people watching a terrible movie. We'll talk about it at the beginning, and then we'll just get into whatever we want to talk about afterward.
Cool.
So, The Spirit of Christmas is on Netflix. So, if
Okay.
anyone is actually listening to us, they should watch it before this.
That's available now.
It is available now and probably will never be released again on any other media platform. So, now's the time.
But knowing Netflix, that'll be on there forever.
They probably got it for free, so
Yeah.
they're just gonna leave it on there forever. I say we just go through a recap.
Yeah.
It was so bad that it was hard to get through.
From the very first shot.
From the very beginning, the very first shot is a man who looks like he came out of Portland, Oregon directly. No changes whatsoever made to his outfit, his haircut, his beard.
It seemed like they had just picked up a hipster, and he already sort of quasi looked like he was in the early 20th century, so they just decided to make a historical romance around it.
I really believe that they just got the idea of the movie when they saw that guy.
Yeah.
They just saw him, they're like, that guy's gorgeous. We have to put this beautiful man in a movie, but we don't know how to do it. And then they were like, well, he looks like he could be from the 20s.
But we don't have enough money to make an entire movie set in the 20s.
Right, so we'll stage it in 2015, and then we'll have him come back somehow. So
It's close to Christmas. Spirit of Christmas. There we go.
it is close to Christmas. It's exactly 12 days before Christmas. It opens up on him trudging through the snow, and he sees his inn. You don't know it at this time in the movie, but he sees his inn in front of him in the snow. And two people come out on the porch, and he says one line in the beginning of the movie, and all it is Lily. And then he gets hit from behind with a rock. And then...
At this point, we're excited because we think the movie's over.
Right. At this point, you can already tell the acting is below high school drama level. And you're hoping that it doesn't go any farther with this character. But, unbeknownst to us at this time, he is the main character. It cuts into the title sequence, which is just, for some reason, it's angels. It's stone angels.
Yeah, with a really bad like PowerPoint font over the transitions.
Yeah, well, they're not going to dish out money for font at this point. And then they're showing all these baby angels, and they're going through the director and all this, and then all of a sudden it makes a very smooth transition into a restaurant. It's actually a very good transition where you don't notice that you're going into a restaurant, and all of a sudden you're there with I would call her a typical cute Hallmark woman, and a guy that I believe You can tell me if you think this is what happened. I think they decided to shoot this movie after the first scene. They came in and they're like, all right, we got this girl who clearly will do nothing in life besides Hallmark movies. And we'll take her to this restaurant. We'll ask a stranger if they want to be in a movie.
Yeah.
So they find the guy sitting by himself. They sit her down in front of him and they're like, look, man, you just say these 3 lines. You just kind of have to be meaningful about it, but not really. Yeah. And we'll pay for your food. Not your drinks, but we'll pay for your food.
We've already spent most of the budget on the main actor's hair gel, so we can't buy you a drink, but you get to sit next to this mildly attractive woman.
Mildly attractive woman. There's something cute about her, but at the same time, you're like, something about her personality makes her ugly. Like, I just know I don't like her. So they have this awkward conversation.
Yeah, I felt it was refreshingly honest.
Did you really?
Yeah.
You found it that way? Because I
kind of liked that she was repulsive.
So, yes, I did find her repulsive, but I found the dialogue was written so poorly that they knew it was poorly written, so they made her character just notice it immediately. Because the guy starts off describing how wonderful she is, which in this instance doesn't make any sense. He's talking about how wonderful she is and how he doesn't bring out the best in her, and he thinks that she could do better than him, basically. And she ends up asking him this ridiculous line, "Are you breaking up with me?" And he says yes, and she goes, "Oh good, I thought you were proposing to me."
Yeah.
I was like, what? Those are the only 2 options in this conversation, apparently. She's been with this person long enough to where she thinks he would propose, but not long enough to know if that's actually what's happening at this moment. So that was horrible to sit through.
Yeah.
And then she takes a bro chick stance afterward, and she's like, "Are you gonna eat that?" And then she just grabs his food off his plate and eats it. And all I was thinking was like, that dude's got to be pissed because that's how he's getting paid. I mean,
he's like, the studio bought me this.
Right. So, terrible opening to our main female character, who, just like every other Hallmark movie, is bad at love.
Yeah.
She's just, God, she's a piece of shit, really, is what it is. She's a busy businesswoman who's got to do business.
She's too busy.
Oh my gosh. So
she works at she's a lawyer?
Yeah, I was going to say, talk about her work.
So
because immediately it flashes to her at work with her boss.
Yeah, so she's a lawyer who does lawyery things. I don't know if they ever actually get into her specific area of law. But she has to go and appraise this house, or get someone to appraise this house. And there's no beneficiaries of the will from the woman who owned this inn. I say house, it was an inn.
Yeah, it's all under trust.
Yeah.
Which is not explained where the trust goes to.
And yeah, well, as we find out later in the movie, this was quite an expansive family, so I don't know why there was no relation.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, later in the movie, you find out that there's got to be more of them.
Yeah, so I don't know why there's no one left to take this in.
Yeah, well...
And it's in Vermont, north of Vermont or something.
Yeah, so her boss is telling her, hey, you're basically the light of my life. You're the best thing in the world. You make my life easier. Her boss just loves her, and he's like, you're going to get promoted.
Yeah, of course she's up for promotion.
Yeah, busy businesswoman, getting those promotions. She's about to be promoted. All she's got to do is see this through, make sure the inn gets sold so that they can move on. The trust wants to just sell it and have the money and just move on. So for some reason, to get it appraised, she has to go to the house and meet the appraisal, even though there's a caretaker there.
Yeah.
But that's where the story goes next.
Which they don't mention.
Right. They don't.
All they say is that all the appraisers have run away because it's haunted.
It's haunted. They make a joke about how, oh, look in the paper, it's haunted.
Yeah.
Which there's no murders or anything on the property really that would make you think, oh, this place is so haunted that it can be an inn, but we can't sell it.
Yeah.
People will sleep here for vacation, but we can't sell it.
Yeah. It's so haunted.
So she ends up driving there. she immediately sees a dumpy appraisal guy run out of the house. He's just this appraiser who says no lines at all, runs to his car. She's like, excuse me. And as she's saying, excuse me, he's like peeling out of the driveway like no reasonable person would do. And she's confused, and she walks into the house, and she immediately sees a picture on the wall of the guy from the opening scene.
Of a hipster from Portland.
Oh my gosh, it's glorious. They see his picture on the side of the wall, and she's staring at it, and then the caretaker comes in the room and startles her.
Yeah.
Always startling her. And she tells him who she is. She's trying to sell the inn, and he's saying, oh, well, I'm leaving right now. I'm leaving.
Because the inn is shut down.
Yes, because of tradition. The inn is shut down because of tradition from the 13th to the 25th.
Yeah.
And he says, well, where are you going to stay while you're here? And she says, well, this is an inn. And I don't know if you caught this or not. Me and Sarah definitely caught this while we were watching it. But this dude is full of inn puns.
Oh, yeah.
Where she says, well, I was going to stay here. And he goes, that's impossible. and then she goes, why? He goes, well, I won't be here. And she goes, I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. So I think I'll stay here. And he's like, that's inadvisable. Yeah. He's just full of these inn puns that no one points out, but they're amazing.
I wonder what his goal was. Like, he thought that would... Was he trying to dissuade her or entertain her?
I don't know. You can't really tell what his intentions are at that point. So he leaves. She stays the night. And for some reason, she wakes up while she's like falling asleep while she's reading a book. And she wakes up and turns off the light. And then it cuts to somebody walking in the front door and turning off the alarm.
Yeah.
And she hears it. And basically, I want to say she like just wakes up in the morning just kind of scared.
No, yeah, he startle her, and she...
That's right. She does get...
He says you're
trespassing.
Yeah, you're trespassing. And she hits a shelf.
And
a vase hits her directly on the head.
Yes.
And she passes out.
It noggins her. It just knocks her right out. It's conveniently written, basically, that she gets knocked out. She wakes up on the couch. She finds Daniel playing the piano.
Yeah, he's playing 12 Days of Christmas.
Yeah, and
that's
she's
on
like,
the nose.
She's like, who the hell are you? What are you doing in this house? No one's supposed to be here. And he's like, a man cannot trespass on what is his own property, or some line.
All the dialogue from the characters from the 1920s sounds like Victorian England. Like the writers vaguely knew what people back in the day spoke like, but they didn't quite get it right.
It was the wrong continent, basically. Yeah. They didn't know where the accents or anything should come from.
Yeah. And the people, I like how they think that people in the 20s didn't use contractions. He's just, everything is separate words, like, my cousin will not go to Canada with me.
Yeah, and the other issue that I had with their speech was the broken dialogue didn't help it, but he would say things in an underacted way to where he knew how they wanted him to talk, but he just came up short because even he was like, this is bullshit, I'm not saying that. I can't justify saying this right now.
It's like he was trying to get through the dialogue as fast as possible so the experience would be over.
Right. So she ends up calling the sheriff because she finds this dude hanging out in the house and she doesn't know what to do about it. Sheriff comes over. I'm sorry, I left a part out. He throws her out of the house.
Oh, yeah.
She's in a blanket. She's standing on the front porch and the sheriff shows up. Did you notice what was weird about the sheriff getting there?
No, I didn't.
Or not getting there, but what he did immediately when he got there.
No, I didn't notice.
He pulled out a set of keys to the house.
Oh, yeah.
He had keys to the house. Like no sheriff in the entire world does.
I think everyone in that town had keys to that house.
It was so bizarre. Just another convenience in the plot line where they're like, how do they get back in the house?
The sheriff has keys.
Well, what if the sheriff just happened to have keys to everyone's house in the town? That makes sense. Yeah, okay. We'll go with that.
As sheriffs do.
And so he gets in the house, he searches it, he doesn't see anything. He makes a joke about how it's the ghost, of course, and leaves.
That happens like twice over.
Yes, he comes to the house twice. The caretaker shows up in between those times, though. She basically the ghost reappears. Daniel the ghost reappears.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Are you gonna keep disappearing every time the sheriff comes?" And he goes, "Are you gonna keep calling the sheriff?"
Yeah.
And it's
basically they're early on they're trying to get you to buy someone falling in love with a ghost.
They're getting you to be okay with the fact that there's a ghost.
Yeah.
Basically. And they're trying to go through his different ghost powers, but we'll get to that.
Varied and very convenient.
Yes. One of my favorite lines in this whole dialogue of just getting to know the ghost is she tells the ghost, "Well, I think you're real." And he goes, "But what is real?" Like the most meaningful thing he could say at that moment was, "But what is real?"
And the movie has given us nothing up to that point that earned that line.
No, it has not given us anything to where we could be like, you know what, Daniel, you're right. What is
real?
real?
And it doesn't follow with anything that deserves that line.
Nothing does.
At no point do they explore that concept.
Oh my God. So he proves to her that he's a ghost at this point.
Yeah.
By going out to the property line and disappearing.
Yeah, because he can't exist past the property line.
Yeah, so he's like halfway explaining the rules to her at that point, like, "Oh, well, I can't actually cross the property line."
Yeah.
Which seems to be, there's only one place that they ever go where he disappears.
Yeah.
So we don't really know what the property line is, but that was just something he threw out there. And then as he's explaining this to her, he disappears, and then she runs back in the house, and he's on the stairs eating an apple.
Yeah.
And they go on to explain why he's eating.
Yeah.
Which serves no purpose whatsoever in the movie.
Yeah.
But he's just sitting there eating an apple, and then they cut to the kitchen where he's eating an entire turkey and a grilled cheese sandwich. Which then the caretaker who's there now is like, "Oh, well, he says it's more about the sensation."
Yeah. That was creepy.
Well, it didn't make much sense to me. I didn't see why we had to be introduced to the hungry ghost, because he's sitting there eating like the whole time.
Yeah.
That they're around him. And so he's got this weird thing where he can't cross a property line, but he's physical enough to pick somebody up.
Yeah.
He's physical enough to eat.
Yeah, they established that he is like a human during these 2 weeks.
But at the same time, what I want to know is, if he's so human, does he still have ghost poop?
I don't know.
I think it's a valid question for all of us.
I would guess yes. I think so.
So that brings up another question. If he has ghost poop, if he hired hookers for 99 years, and he had children with them, because technically his semen could be real also.
Yeah.
Would his children disappear past the property line?
He can't find them because they're not in the property line.
Or do they only exist for 12 days?
Yeah.
And it's all at the same time that he's there?
Yeah, there's a ton of people around the country who can only exist for 12 days. Really, they could make several more movies about all of his children.
Yeah, they could. They could be like The Parent Trap or something.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So they have different flashbacks. One of them was early in the movie. He flashes back to when Lily, the heartthrob of the movie, pops into the picture, and his cousin's there, who you get introduced to, and his cousin is explaining who Lily is. She just came from wherever. She's some rich girl that pops in, and he's looking down the stairs. He pulls some smooth move to get somebody else to not talk to her because she's in a room, and he comes up to this guy and he's like, "Hey, hotel guests aren't allowed back here." And he walks back there and he's like, "How's it going?" And she's like, "Oh, that was pretty smooth back there. Are you always this smooth?" And he's like, "Only when pretty ladies are in distress." She's like, "Oh my."
Yeah.
trying to talk in her best 1920s voice possible.
She had the most modern sounding voice of anyone in the cast.
She did, and it actually made more sense.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like having British people play Spartans, you know?
Yeah.
Like, don't have freaking 1920s gibberish come out of some American dude's mouth.
Yeah.
Because he's not going to sound like he's from the 20s.
Yeah, it's really bad.
But he meets Lily. They fall in love. You basically get established that that's his fiance. Like, that's who he loves. That's who he's supposed to marry. And they're about to be married. So it cuts back to the future again. And the main character, she is having these weird experiences in the house where, like, her doors are opening.
Yeah.
She keeps hearing noises that she thinks is Daniel.
Yeah. She sees shitty shadow effects in the
Yes.
bathroom.
And she hears something upstairs, and she runs upstairs, and she finds Daniel's room.
Yeah.
And he's in there ironing his ghost shirt.
Yeah.
Which was clearly in his contract that he had to have a
Yeah.
shirtless scene. They're like, dude, you're beautiful. We just need you to have your shirt off, man. So we get to see him without his shirt on, and all the women that watch this movie get hot and heavy, and he's basically mad at her for coming into his room, and she's like, well, you got to stop coming into my room and opening up the doors. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they leave it at that. And she's like, she thinks that he's being a predator.
Yeah.
But she doesn't do anything about it. So,
and if the ghost doesn't know what's opening the doors, I feel like you should freak out a bit.
Right. So, you know, they decide to go back to work in a very stupid way where they both agree at the same time walking down the stairs. I think it's time we get back to work.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I think so. I agree.
Yeah, because she's trying to figure out why he was killed.
Yes.
Because she thinks, apparently now she's speculating on the rules of ghosthood.
Yeah. Well,
that he will be freed once they know who killed him.
Right. She makes that assumption. And one of the best lines is, have you ever even tried to figure out? And he's like, more times than you could possibly imagine. It's like, you've been dead for 99 years, dude. We know how many times it was.
Yeah. And he's apparently really bad at solving things because there's only 3 established people in his life in this movie.
Yeah, there's 4. There's 4 established people. So in this interaction, after they decide to go back to work, they come downstairs, and one of the neighboring innkeepers is in the room and saying, oh, well, my water pipes burst. Would y'all mind opening up your inn for a dinner for all of my guests? And Daniel's very against this because the whole movie he's been talking about how much he wants to be in solitude, so he doesn't want any guests to come.
Yeah.
And she says, oh, well, I have a great bartender. And he goes, I doubt it.
Yeah.
Like, nobody ever would. And she goes, have you ever even been to my inn? And he goes, the only bartender I trust is myself. Which is just a shitty thing to say to somebody for no reason whatsoever. And he goes on to explain that he's the best bartender and that he accepts her challenge. Somehow it turned out to be a challenge. I don't even know where the dialogue went, where it was a challenge, but he invites everybody over.
Well, suddenly he's okay with everyone in the town
Yeah.
coming to this inn.
He was like, oh, y'all come over.
Risking
He's like,
exposure.
yeah, he's like, bring companions. Bring companions.
That's a word they used in the 20s.
It is. So it's now been established that he's going to host an entire party for all of the inn across the street. And they are basically at a point in the movie where we've sidetracked so hard that her boss has to call her. Yeah. And he's like, where are you? And
because she's always supposed to be there for like overnight, and she's been here for days.
And he makes her come back. Like he.
And is the bartending scene when we flash back and find out about his rum running?
Yeah, so she gets called by her boss. Her boss is like, "Are you at a party?" And this is right before we get into a conversation about rum running. Yeah. And the lady from the inn across the street tells us that she heard rumors about the Forsyths back in the day, which the Forsyths is his family. Yeah. And she tells the story of David and how his brother married his fiance and they had a kid too soon and the kid died. And then Lily, his sweetheart, died. Yeah. So he finds out basically that his wife and child died like right after he did. Yeah. He finds out that his brother betrayed him, he thinks, by marrying his sweetheart. And he's very upset about it. And
you couldn't tell from the performance, but
no,
he's very upset.
The acting wouldn't have let you know that, but we just assumed that he'd be upset about that. He's pacing back and forth in our room, and a Hallmark girl comes in there and is just like, she's just like lays into him. Like, why are you so mad?
Yeah.
Why are you so mad right now?
And selfish.
Yeah. And
how dare you die?
Yeah.
And then have your wife and child die right after you.
Yeah. And they get in this little argument, and it ends with her being like, you know what? I bet your wife killed you. Which is just like some hardcore shit. She got real grumpy right there. So she basically has to... I don't know. She feels really bad about it. He tells her to leave the inn. She comes... she sees the evil ghost at this time or something. She leaves. She goes back to her office.
Yeah. For like a pointless scene.
For one scene where the boss is like, you got to be here for Christmas Eve. We're going to give you your promotion then.
Yeah, like it's on offer only on Christmas Eve.
Yes, only on Christmas Eve, which no office is functioning Christmas Eve.
Yeah, who has their Christmas party literally on Christmas Eve?
Lawyers.
Sorry, honey, I'm going to be with my coworkers at my beige office on Christmas Eve.
Tell the kids I love them.
Yeah. Getting drunk and making bad decisions.
Oh my God, let me get these stupid cameras going.
Did they turn off?
For some reason, with these, with the DSLRs, you have to buy, I'm going to get it, so with the DSLRs, you have to buy a special deal that keeps it running for more than, I think it's like 4 gigabytes worth at a time that it'll take. So you can get that. It has a 1-second pause in it, but it keeps it running. Same thing with the little ones. The GoPro's the only one that's an actual video recorder, so it just films the entire time. And I was thinking about getting just a regular video camera, but I really like having a DSLR. Yeah. So I'm probably just gonna get it's so freaking expensive. It's a $300 part that you got to get to put on the camera and make it work. So I'll see how much I like doing this before I get it. Where were we?
She's just come back from Boston.
Yeah, she just comes back from Boston. And she walks upstairs looking for Daniel. She hears a door behind her open, and she goes in there. And there's like a shadow figure that you can't even make out as a shadow figure. It just looks like a dark room. And it just says, "Get out."
They basically paid a first-year film student, or first-year graphic artist student, for like 1 hour to design this shadow effect.
Oh, yeah. And all it says is "get out." And she starts crying. And Daniel runs in there. And he's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And they hug for a second. And he's like, she was like, why'd you do that? You didn't have to scare me." And he's like, "It wasn't me." And she was like, "What about the voices?" "It wasn't me." "What about opening the doors of my room?" "It wasn't me." And then he's like, "Oh my God, there's another ghost." And even she's like, "You haven't noticed another ghost in the house?" What the hell? So that night, He comes up to her room and he's like, I will watch over you. And he grabs a chair and faces it away from her bed. And he's like, your privacy is assured.
Yeah.
It's just
Like, he couldn't just turn the chair around when she fell asleep.
Yeah. And she's like, okay. And she starts to walk away. And he like looks back and goes, good night. In the most insincere, weird way you ever could. So she goes to sleep. He has a vision of Lily that basically doesn't tell you anything.
Yeah.
And she wakes up in the morning.
He doesn't tell her that he saw.
He doesn't tell her anything. Oh, and by the way, he doesn't sleep either.
Oh, yeah.
That's another ghost rule. For some reason, he doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
The ghost rules are really specific.
Yeah, he needs food, but he doesn't need to sleep.
Right. We don't know if he needs food.
No, yeah, he just likes to eat.
Yeah, he just likes to eat, which begs the question about ghost poop again.
Yeah.
Because it has to go somewhere. It bothers me a lot that they didn't address this, but he sees this vision, doesn't tell her about it. They move on basically to God, what do they move on?
I actually don't remember.
Oh, I'm sorry. We were out of order. She goes back to Boston at that time.
Oh, after seeing
the ghost. She goes back to Boston. And when she comes back, so I forgot.
It doesn't matter when that scene is.
It doesn't. It's just some bullshit
You
scene.
Could shuffle this entire movie around and get the same effect.
You could. Basically, so this pissed me off too. There's another love interest in it where the innkeepers fall in love.
Oh, yeah. That was a thing.
Yeah, so there's another scene in the movie that does not matter or contribute to anything at all where he's got his cell phone on the table and the other innkeeper's calling him and Daniel's playing chess with him and it rings and it shows her name on it and he's like, your special device is displaying the name Molly on it.
Yeah.
And they talk about love or whatever. Well, later on when she comes back from Boston, the house has been appraised because he used the special device to call the appraiser, which pissed me off because he calls it a special device, but he knows how to use an iPhone. You know how to use an iPhone, but you can't call it an iPhone. That's just being a dick.
Yeah, he clearly knows everything about it.
It made me so mad. And he knew how to get in touch with an appraiser, which means he probably got on the internet.
Yeah, and he comes back for 2 weeks every year since 1920, and he hasn't learned anything.
Nothing at all. Not even how to dress.
Yeah.
Because apparently he has more than one ghost shirt.
Yeah.
That also bothers me.
He has a nicer ghost shirt.
God.
And an undercut haircut, which would not have been in fashion.
Oh, it was definitely in fashion. He had it in the 20s flashbacks, Matthew. Where else would he have gotten it?
Yeah.
So, ends up he hosts a Christmas party. So, before the Christmas party happens, and he's waiting on this chick to get back, he falls asleep outside.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember this?
Yeah.
He falls asleep outside in the middle of the night, and he wakes up in the morning, and he's like, that was new.
Yeah.
And they never address this again in the entire movie.
Yeah, like, is it important?
But why the hell did he fall asleep if he doesn't have to fall asleep?
I don't know.
The inconsistency in the ghost rules is the most frustrating thing about the movie.
He also fell asleep on a bench in the snow, so apparently he doesn't.
Well, that's what I mean. He fell asleep on that bench in the snow.
So he doesn't
he doesn't feel cold.
But now, first I thought they were trying to hint that he was becoming more human. But I don't think that's what it was.
In the freezing cold outside.
Yeah. I don't know. They were 2 seconds under 90 minutes, so they had to add in him waking up on a bench.
Oh my god. So, this is where the movie climaxes. And this movie climaxed so hard, Matthew, that I got lightheaded. Like, I was just like, oh my god. They're at the Christmas party. Everyone's dancing. The sheriff is there. The innkeeper's there. There's some random people there that you've never seen throughout the movie. It's only like 12 people.
Yeah.
And Daniel the ghost is there, and he's watching his newfound girlfriend dance, and he all of a sudden feels something grab his hand, and it's Lily. And he starts to have a flashback of Lily and his brother
Charles
are at the Christmas party talking back when he walked up to the house in the snow. Right before they came outside and he saw him, they had this conversation.
Yeah, so he's privy to this conversation even though he was never there. Or he was not physically near them.
Right. So he gets to see the conversation 99 years later for no apparent reason. It just happened this time. And basically what happens is his brother is talking shit about him, how he's doing rum running to make money for Lily. And she's telling him that she just wishes that there was a Christmas miracle for him to be home. And he says that a leopard never changes its spots, which is the dumbest line of all time.
Is that even the phrase? I thought it was a tiger cannot change its stripes.
Probably. I don't know. They're both bad.
Yeah.
Bad uses of language, but he and her run out, or she runs outside for some reason, and he follows her, and he's still talking trash, and she's just crying about how he's not home. And who else? Oh, he doesn't see anybody else. He kind of comes to, and
he remembers that he was hit.
He remembers he was hit earlier in the movie, but he and god dang it, what's the main character's name?
I actually don't know what the main character's name is.
Let's just call her Red.
Yeah.
Red finds out the vision through him at the party, and she's like, well,
yeah, she can see, apparently, well, she doesn't see that vision, but then she can see.
She sees another one afterward.
Yeah.
She runs upstairs with him after they talk because she's like, well, who wasn't there? Who wasn't at the party that could have hit you? And he's like, well, it's somebody that had to know my route back to the house. And it wasn't my brother, and it wasn't Lily, so it had to be my cousin.
Yeah, the only other person with a name
in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And he runs upstairs, and he's like, I know it was you!
Henry,
I know it was you! And Henry appears for God knows why. After 99 years, just saying Henry's name, he appears. And basically, Henry's still there because he's still there.
Yeah.
And he's scared of judgment.
Yeah, and then Lily's still there.
And Lily's still there at the bottom of the stairs.
I guess there's three ghosts in
There's
this
three
house.
ghosts in the house. But for some reason, only one of them comes back for 12 days a year. And the other two are just kind of hanging out and can appear.
But the main girl, the main girl can see all three of them in this scene.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's happening.
I don't either. This is where it gets weird. Basically, he sees all three of them. What happens? Because there's a point at which they go outside. He forgives Henry. That's what it is. He forgives Henry.
Henry had to do it because, he was trying to, what's his name? The main guy. Daniel. Daniel was trying to get out of the bootlegging business.
Yes.
And so the head boss of whatever.
Yeah, he sent Henry to kill him.
Yeah, and he said if Henry didn't do it, then he was going to kill his whole family or whatever. So
Daniel forgives him. I know. I have it written down, even though I don't remember it because this movie sucks so bad, that Red faints and Daniel walks outside with Lily.
Oh, yeah.
So they're both outside and they get to the threshold of the property. And this is when I almost lost my shit. Because he stops, he goes, wait. And he looks back at the house and she's like, the choice is yours, my love. Saying, you can go back with that other lady if you want to. And she walks through the threshold, which first off, my wife would cut my dick off if I even paused for a second and just said, hey,
can I go have sex with that other woman real quick? Like, before I come with you? No, that's not how this works. So he's waited 99 years to get back to the love of his life. And he's like, hey, I haven't pounded this chick yet.
Yeah.
And we've been hanging out for like 5 days. I've showed some restraint. So she moves on and it fades out and you don't know what happens.
Except, yeah, everyone knows what happens.
Lily, no, I didn't. When I watched this, I thought they were going to, at least like in the movie, like cinematically correctly, but they didn't.
No.
She wakes up. She's really sad. And she gets up and she's walking outside to her car to leave. And you hear this stupid music. And they show the woods. And you see someone walking out of the woods. And it's Daniel. So he's gone from human man to ghost.
Back.
For 12 days, ghost man.
Every year for 90
Every year for 90-something years. And now he's gone from ghost man, betrayed his future wife, to become full man to hang out with this chick.
So now presumably living the rest of his life.
Yes. So he's aged, 99 times 12 days. So he's aged like, I don't know, 4 years over 100. And so he's got to live the rest of his life with this chick. Horrid. You can't do this in a movie. It's just wrong to your viewers.
But I don't entirely understand what gave Lily the power to have him come back for 12 days every year for 99 years or 95. And then after he had resolved things with his cousin to then become a human again. It's the strangest thing.
This stupid thing. Okay, sorry. What were you saying? I wasn't paying too much attention.
I don't understand what gave Lily the power to have him come back for 12 days for 12 days every year for 95 years.
They tried to say something like it was she gave him a Christmas miracle, but that's just hell.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not a miracle.
No, but it could be if you had hookers. I mean, basically, the only reason that would be okay is if you had 12 days a year to just go crazy and then have no responsibilities whatsoever.
Yeah, but he can't leave the property line, so...
So how do you get hookers?
Yeah.
Or blow.
Yeah,
or
that's just... I guess that's why he eats.
He just eats.
That's all
how do you get the food?
And uses special devices.
Special devices. He's got to get one of those. So that's the spirit of Christmas. What'd you think?
It wasn't the worst movie I've ever seen.
We've seen much worse. Shitty Movie Sunday started... God, me and Flynn started doing it when we first saw The Room.
Yeah.
That's probably the first shitty movie we watched. Then you started watching them with us. Probably.
Yeah, I saw a few.
You were in high school, right?
Yeah.
So...
I mean, I see shitty movies every once in a while just because.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you ever
watch
watch Lifetime or Hallmark,
you see it 24/7.
Yeah. Which my wife loves that shit.
But I feel like its biggest sin is because there's like a difference between movies that are so bad it's entertaining. I think this one is just really boring.
It's so boring.
Like, that's its biggest sin, is it's just so boring.
The end of it was not only hard to watch because of the writing, but because you had been sitting there bored for so long that you just wanted everyone to die.
Yeah.
You just hope that someone came in there and blew the place up and they were all ghosts for 12 days a year.
Well, just nothing. I feel like nothing happens.
It doesn't happen.
He just talks about his life in the 20s. And then
he doesn't even really talk about it.
Well, yeah, he doesn't really talk. It's just flashbacks.
He just like holds all this information in until like he feels like it's time to tell him.
Yeah, and there's no indication why this is the year that he should have the epiphany.
No, it's just kind of...
Other than, I guess you're supposed to assume it's because she came, but I feel like he could have figured all of this out without her.
Absolutely. Because the whole time he's like, I've never remembered that before, and it's like...
But why?
Yeah, why not? We need some explanations. It's not like you're recovering from head trauma. You're a ghost.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, we'll do another one. We'll do another movie. I don't know what we'll watch next time. I want to get Flynn
Yeah.
to come out here. I got to do one with him. Got to do. I haven't watched it yet. He just sent me King Kung Fu,
Oh, yeah, that should be good.
which should be amazing. I'll probably do that one with him. I'll have to get somebody to do The Room with me.
That's a classic.
I mean, if you haven't seen The Room by now, you're just missing out on B
Yeah.
movies in general.
Yeah, that's
Well, not even B movies, C movies.
that's a great movie.
Man. Well, we've gotten through our shitty movie. What's on the table to talk about?
Anything?
Anything?
I don't know. That movie's so boring. It doesn't give me like any material to like go off of into
Oh.
another conversation.
No, it doesn't. I'm not even looking to talk anymore about this movie. I just felt like it had to be shared with the world that if you really want to see a movie that makes you want to pull your pubes out with a tweezer, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Are you allowed in your position to talk about work at all?
I don't know. I don't like. I feel.
I mean, you can share. I'm not asking you to share what's not public.
yeah. Well, everything's pretty much public. now.
So, explain a little bit about that. I've been trying to follow it a little bit, but just kind of, most people don't have this happen in their lifetime at a place that they're working.
Yeah, it was quite bizarre. I don't know what I should like. If I should just be like, I guess I won't name the I don't know.
Don't name anybody.
Yes.
Don't name your organization.
Yeah.
Don't name what city it is. Just give what happened and what y'all are, what the morale is at work, and we'll go through the instance first. What happened? I mean, it happens at a lot of companies, but
Not quite. Yeah, it was just not quite like this. It was very, very odd. I'll just say that it's a nonprofit because it's a nonprofit partially funded by the city, so that adds to the context a bit. Essentially, one day I guess the very first thing was I walked into the office one day and they were changing the locks, and I mean I didn't know if this was like something they did occasionally every few years. I didn't think much of it. And then I guess just in the office, we noticed like a lot of whispered conversations going on in different offices. And then you start to get the feeling, hey, something's going on. And then we're called into a staff meeting one day in mid-November, early to mid-November. And we're informed that there are some financial inconsistencies that have been detected and that someone has been let go. And of course, it's a small company. We all know that the accountant has been let go because she had been missing in action for a few days, and we didn't know what was up. And then we're just kind of told, yeah, we'll have updates. And so we go back to doing what we do, and then another meeting happens the next week in which it's confirmed that it was embezzlement. We're not told an amount or anything, just told pertinent information. And then, I mean, it's basically just business as usual. Obviously everyone's like, what is going on?
right.
Money's missing. We don't really know what that means or what the implications are, or at least I don't, because I've never been through something like this. So we just keep doing our thing. And then, I think maybe a week later after that, so a couple weeks after we first find out, we're called into a staff meeting, and the CEO announces that he has tenured his resignation.
Ugh.
And so that was a really big shock.
How long had he been there before he decided, or I'm sorry, not decided, but before he had to leave?
5 years.
5 years. Okay, that's not a whole heck of a long time.
Yeah, but he essentially had been there from the beginning.
Okay, so this was kind of his baby almost, probably.
Yeah. Which is kind of, I feel sorry for that.
No, it sucks. I mean, anybody that has built a business or put any time into something
Yeah.
like that, I mean, it's part of your life, a very significant part.
Yeah.
So it sucks.
Yeah, and so that was a really weird day. It was effective the same day, like he was gone that day. And we were left kind of really confused about, okay, well, what happens now?
Right.
Is this
Do I still have a job?
Is this still a thing? Like, and so, the board chair steps in to kind of talk to us, and just so I guess over the past couple months they've been just updating us on what's going on. And of course that same day that the CEO resigned, it came out in the papers, and so it's been sort of the big story in the city right now. Because I think it's just, there's something intriguing about it, that someone who was honestly, in my personal interactions with this person, was a very nice person.
Yeah, I mean, just a pleasant person to be around.
Yeah, and very helpful and seemingly very giving.
Of other people's money.
Yeah. But it's just so weird for that to happen. And so, the main thing that makes it, I mean, obviously embezzlement happens in a lot of places all the time. But I think what made it sort of a scandal was that the nonprofit is partially funded through, not general taxpayer funds. It's funded through sort of the equivalent of what a neighborhood organization would be, I suppose.
Okay.
It's a self-assessed tax in a certain part of town.
I got you. Basically an HOA.
Yeah. Property owners, yeah.
Yeah.
But that distinction is lost on a lot of people, and they immediately assume my money has been tampered with. As of yet, public money has, as far as we know, has not been touched.
Okay.
Just privately donated.
I don't know there's not a worse in that instance, but I mean, God, keeping your privately held money untampered with seems to be more important in this instance, because you're catering to a group of non-government held entities.
Yeah.
And if you had the government entity tampered with, yes, that's still just as bad, but you have one disappointed party, not multiple.
Yeah. But the dangerous thing about if it was government money tampered with, is that the city could have pulled its management contract with the organization, which would have essentially ended it.
Really?
So, because that's when public money's messed with, that's when the public turns against you. That's when city council members turn against you.
Goodness. So, as of right now, it's business as usual.
Yeah.
What, where does it go from here? So can you, we won't say how much money was taken. It was a substantial amount of money,
especially for a nonprofit.
For a nonprofit organization. You've had a huge chunk of your portfolio taken away. We say business as usual. Have you seen any programs being cut?
Yeah, I think that there's right now is like the repair phase. You have to go in and that's all some members of our team have been doing is obviously hiring outside firms as well, going in and fixing the books.
Man.
And then lots of reforms I think right now with the way that we handle money, spend money, etc. Not that I didn't notice anything suspect before. I mean, it was regular organization stuff, but I think obviously now there's a stricter lens.
Goodness. So you've had all this money taken away from y'all. That's y'all's organization is fairly small as far as overhead. You have a very large volunteer base.
Yeah.
Where would that money have gone?
The money that was taken?
Mm-hmm. Would that have gone to support your salary, or would it have gone to support the programs that y'all put on?
My suspicion is both. I don't know the specifics of where it was taken from or where it was supposed to go and didn't end up.
Right.
But my suspicion would be, it would be general.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
Everything.
So what's it looking like on the front
end of things? Are y'all getting good communication from the top down on what's happening and where they're trying to push the organization?
Somewhat.
That's not good.
Yeah. I think, well, we have a meeting tomorrow, so I think maybe that'll clear things up. But yeah, I think we have a lot of allies in the community, it seems like, so that's good. So I think that they really want us to get back on track.
So, are you worried at all? I mean, you've gone through the really bad part of it.
Yeah.
But are you still worried that your organization may not bounce back from embezzlement?
Yeah, I think everyone is. Because I think it won't be for sure until, I don't think it won't be for sure until sort of the audit is done. And then obviously there's another part of this, which is the criminal investigation side of it.
No one's been arrested yet, have
No
they?
one's been arrested yet.
Which is crazy.
The suspicion is that will happen.
Is that person allowed to leave the city? Do you know any specifics
I
on
have
that?
no idea. SAP or the police department has not communicated timelines.
God, I mean, if I was that person, they didn't steal enough money to retire on,
No.
but they stole enough money to go to Mexico and start a business to retire on.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I just don't know. I have no
God.
idea. I'm sure that relatively soon all of that will start to happen, which will again bring it back into the spotlight, which is not good.
no, it'll be a big drawn out trial and
Yeah.
all that kind of great stuff. So what's your, I guess the CEO that stepped down, what do you know what they're up to?
No, I don't. I think they've just been, yeah, I actually don't know.
Well, man, I mean, that's a really crappy position to be in. I feel like
Yeah.
as a CEO, having to resign over misjudged books is pretty career ending
Yeah.
from a CEO standpoint. Not saying that they won't find a job, but I mean, to be
Yeah.
a CEO somewhere else, it'd be kind of hard to interview and be like, yeah, I had to resign. My books didn't come
Yeah.
out correct. It's not very good.
No, it's not.
But when somebody's intentionally trying to swindle money from you, you can't always catch that.
Yeah, it was a very extensive scheme. The person hired a fake auditor.
Yeah, that's insanity. I mean,
Yeah.
that basically means I wouldn't put any of that on a CEO
Yeah,
because you hire a fake auditor.
created a fake website, fake emails. It was insane. There was a lot going on that no one
See
knew
what
about.
you can do when you put your mind
Yeah.
to something.
I was just thinking, if you're that, I mean, that takes a lot of that's a lot of effort and a lot of work and some ingenuity. You think that you would be able to make money honestly and not have to do it.
Absolutely, putting that much work into something. I mean, I work as a consultant. I know what each minute of my time is worth.
Yeah,
If that person put each minute of that time into something that was money making, they could have made more money than they did
Yeah.
swindling it
Yeah.
from somebody else. Easily.
yeah,
It's insanity.
yeah. It's really unfortunate.
That's what sucks so much about our society is people don't want to work hard. But if they did work as hard as they did being a crook at something else, they could be as successful as anybody.
Yeah,
Now, that brings up a whole other topic about who's in the front of the line, as far as, I mean, being privileged in different ways of, your parents are still together. You're brought up in a private education. Your parents are already semi-successful and you can get to college because finances are, not tight.
yeah,
That's a whole different crazy conversation on just how much that plays into things. But any one of those factors in your favor and you have the drive to get more money, that person could have done anything that they wanted to.
yeah,
But instead they decided that the easy way was to steal it.
yeah.
The easy way was to steal it, but it really wasn't the easy way.
No, 'cause-
It was just as hard,
And it's gonna get a lot harder now.
And now you're gonna get your ass pounded in prison.
Yeah. This person also pleaded guilty to a felony in the past.
Ooh, a felony.
Yeah, and that was the thing that was bad, was there was no background check done.
I mean, yeah, I think background checks are probably fairly important.
Yeah.
For a person who's
handling money.
Who's handling money, and not only handling money at a institution partially backed by the government.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how that's kind of an issue.
Yeah.
For sure. But, you know, if it's your buddy just helping you out, you may not second guess them.
Right, yeah.
Which I don't know if that's the situation or not, but
yeah, I feel like there are lots of places that don't do background checks.
well, those places are generally like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Which I think McDonald's has a pretty strict background check too.
Yeah, I think there are certain positions especially where, and there's an argument to be made that nonprofits don't have the money to background check everyone. Because I hear that it's
could have
expensive.
saved quite a bit of money.
Yeah, they could have. I hear that it's quite expensive.
All that's expensive. Drug testing is expensive. Yeah. Background checks. Our company, the company I work for, even does personality tests for everybody.
Yeah.
We do it so that we can better understand each other and work as effectively as possible with each other.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at the end of the day, it's pay me now or pay me later.
Yeah.
I mean, you're either going to get bit in the ass with a fraud scandal or you're going to pay some money up front.
Yeah. And I think there are probably certain positions that you could background check and maybe not others where there's not as much risk.
Right. For sure. Yeah, I mean, like your position, it's like, hey,
yeah, it doesn't matter.
Should our new hire get background checked who's really not handling any money at all? Nah, they're okay.
Yeah. It's been really crazy.
Well, that's nuts. Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah.
So you've recently moved to a new city.
Yeah.
What's it like? I've recently moved to a new city.
Yeah.
What's it like for you? Are you liking being in a new place?
I like it a lot. I like being in a bigger city.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Being in Midland, Texas is not as great as people think it is.
No, it's not. Not in West Texas out there.
I love West Texas, but this is what people don't understand about West Texas. When you're there, you have a bond with people that is unlike anywhere else. You're all in the same shitty canoe without a paddle.
Yeah.
You're all in the desert. It's 120 degrees outside in the summer. It's negative 11 in the winter. It's horrible.
Yeah.
But you can find, until recently, but when we were growing up there, it was just a bond between everybody. We all treated each other with respect. I felt like it just felt like a big community that was, really tight knit. Doesn't feel like that anymore. That's why leaving really didn't bother me at all. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that anymore.
Yeah.
So I see so many white trash people there now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that there's just I really like sort of the big cultural institutions that large cities have, and that just didn't exist in Midland or Lubbock. So like the museums, and just there's a lot of history in larger cities that are more established.
Absolutely. I kind of moved to a little bit different situation where we moved to the country outside of a big city.
Yeah.
Which I love even more just because I can be separated from all the craziness in the city, traffic, all that. I don't have to deal with it. But at the same time, since I've been here, I've been to the World Series in Houston.
Yeah.
I've gone to a Texans game, first NFL experience ever. So I've gotten to do some cool stuff already.
Yeah.
It's just neat not being 5 hours away from everything.
Yeah.
Because Midland is 5 hours away from every body of water and every major city.
Yeah. I don't know if everyone understands that the major cities in Texas are mostly concentrated in the eastern half.
Yeah, they're all over here. There's no major cities. You could
Except
count
El
El Paso, but El Paso is...
But it's
Mexico.
far too. Yeah.
It's Mexico.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And being in Midland, I mean, you're closer to
New Mexico than you are a body of water.
Yeah.
You're closer to Mexico than a big body of water.
Yeah.
So there's really cool places in West Texas, though.
Yeah, if you go out far, like Fort Davis.
Fort Davis
the
is
Davis
amazing.
Mountains, the Guadalupe Mountains are beautiful.
Yeah. I really, really love Balmorhea. That's just kind of a little gym in the desert.
The natural spring.
Yeah, just a natural spring. It's been kind of converted into a pool.
Yeah.
I love going to the sand dunes, which is another great spot.
Yeah.
Go in the morning to the sand dunes, ride down the big sand dunes on a disc, and then in the afternoon when it's 110, go to the spring that's 60 degrees year round.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's really cool. The McDonald Observatory.
Still haven't made it. I don't know why.
It's so cool, and it's sort of a world-renowned observatory.
It's amazing. Well, I mean, you get out into the Davis Mountains and you see satellites passing by.
You see so many stars.
I've never been anywhere else on Earth that I could see satellites passing by.
Yeah, it all gets washed out.
It's crazy. There's no light pollution whatsoever in West Texas.
It's beautiful.
Except for some of the rigs. Some of those drilling rigs will give you some light pollution, but it's nothing like a city.
Yeah. So I think West Texas is really rich in sort of natural beauty. But I think if you want sort of like civic engagement or like
if you want some history, if you want some if you want art, you're not going to find it in West Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, you might find some art in West Texas, but it's going to be in the guy that lives down the street that's got $1 billion that bought it.
Yeah. It's not going to be on display.
That's what's crazy too about Midland that people probably don't really understand is that we have some of the wealthiest people in the entire world in our little city in West Texas.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling how much money is in West Texas.
Yeah, I mean, just as a result of the oil industry.
Yeah. It's been life-changing for me to move away from there. Not here. This is a bad example. This is a wealthy neighborhood that I live in now. It's been eye-opening for me to move away from the West Texas area, to go to Lubbock, to go to College Station, to live in those two places and see kind of how other people live. But what's really changed how I view how lucky even the poorest people I've ever met in America are is going to Central America. I mean, we have it so good. It's unreal.
Yeah.
We don't worry about what we're eating.
Yeah.
We don't worry about where food's coming from because we make enough money to eat.
Yeah.
We worry about if we have enough money to go to the movies this week.
Yeah.
You know, that's what Americans worry about is, do I have enough money to play this week or not?
Yeah.
Even the poorest Americans are like, I have an iPhone.
Yeah.
You go to Central America and and I still see the wealthiest of that for the most part, because if I go to Belize, when I go fly fishing in Belize, the guides are wealthy.
Yeah.
Because they've built this little empire to themselves where, I got these guys from Texas that come down here, pay me $300 a day, $100 in tip, and we just fish all day. I go home. One of my guys was telling me, I got 3 cars. Both my kids are in college. They're the only reason that they can't go to America is because they're not established. Like, they can't even visit America from Belize unless they're very wealthy. Because the U.S. views Belize as one of those places where you're going to come over here and you're not going to go back.
Oh, well, yeah.
Because there's parts of Belize that are very impoverished.
Yeah.
You start getting out. You didn't go to the Mayan ruins with me when we were there.
No.
But you go to the Mayan ruins and you see the people selling knickknacks to get by. And they're wearing clothing that has clearly been given to them, like the wrong team that won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
Like, they're just wearing whatever they can get as aid and relying on the $20 a day they might get from a tourist, which, I mean, we don't even, I still can't, even though I've seen it and I've talked to people like that, I still can't comprehend.
Yeah.
Because I have it so good.
Yeah, I haven't lived through it.
No,
it's insanity how easy we have it.
Yeah.
It's just not taking it for granted is the most important thing you can do.
Yeah. I remember I think every other country I visited, even other first world nations, they don't have air conditioning and heating. In some instances, that's more of a cultural thing than monetary. But for example, Italy, which is considered first world, it is sort of a financial thing because energy costs are so high there. They don't have air conditioning or heating units, and that's in every single, almost every single living arrangement in America.
So they just deal with it.
Yeah, you have to deal with the heat in the summers, which is insane in Italy. It's really hot.
Yeah, that's something that we've never had to deal with ever.
Yeah.
It's probably hotter in Midland than it is in Italy.
No, yeah.
But at the same time,
you feel it in Italy.
Yeah, at the same time, yeah, if it was 90 degrees in the summer and it was 40 degrees in the winter, I'd be a little bitch about it the whole time. I'd be like, hey, 70 degrees is what my body likes, and we're going to keep it there.
Yeah. It's really weird to think about, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I definitely, I love traveling. I never left the country until I met Natalie, ever. Mm-hmm. And so we first went to Grand Cayman. That's a very wealthy country, extraordinarily wealthy. But you get to the right spot, you see what poverty is. Mm-hmm. And seeing that kind of opened my eyes a little bit. And after that, I've been addicted to it. Just going and seeing how other people live. I love that. I've been afforded such an opportunity picking the right degree in college, and just personality wise, I feel like I've gotten the right personality to just push through stuff, to make things happen for myself. Mm-hmm. That I've made enough money now where I feel I don't worry about money like most people do.
Yeah.
And that's given me the opportunity to go see what other people are up to. And that's just, it's what I love. I love it. I love going to other countries and just seeing how other people live.
I think it's so important to interact with people who are different than you. I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, and
I don't think there's enough empathy right now in this country.
No, I don't. From everywhere, from everywhere in our country, there's not enough empathy because people don't put themselves in other people's shoes. Yeah. They just have this hard-headed thought of, I'm right always. I'm right always. Yeah. I love being wrong because that means that I learned something new. Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah, I'm wrong a lot. Yeah. But I love experiencing things from a different perspective, which is really one reason why I really got into podcast, because it's a quick way to understand how somebody else is thinking. Yeah. And learn something new. I mean, you look at Joe Rogan's podcast or Things You Should Know, or Generation Y is one that me and Allie listen to. It's about murders and stuff. Ooh. But you start hearing other people's perspective on things. That's a great way for somebody that doesn't have money to travel and see other perspectives, to hear perspective. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's different now that you can, immediately on your phone, you can just access the world's information.
Yeah, it's traumatizing at some points. I mean, you start really looking into how much access we have to everything, and it's mind-boggling. Yeah. And it's not we have evolved quicker technologically than our bodies have evolved. I'm 100% certain. Oh yeah. Because we can't comprehend this yet. Yeah. Like, we're still just like, oh, we can look at anything we've ever wanted to know in 2 seconds. Yeah. Anything we've ever wanted to know. Back in the 1990s, which was not very long ago, you had to go to a public library and hope the freaking encyclopedia had it. Yeah. And now, everything you could ever want to know, 2 seconds away. Yeah. It's worrisome in some sense because instant gratification is an enemy of progressiveness, not progressiveness, but
I would say work ethic,
Yeah.
because instant gratification doesn't teach you how to work, but it's also extremely useful.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think democratizing information is usually good.
yes.
Making sure that people themselves have access to information is a good safeguard, I think.
I think I really believe that the more access we as a populace have to information is maybe one of the most important things we can do for the future generations, just in the sense that, let's say when we were growing up in Midland, we went to a private school. We went to a private school with people that were much, I mean, we were well off, but we went to private school with people that had more money than God.
Yeah.
So all we knew was people that were just white and rich.
Yeah.
We start being able to introduce children to every race, and more importantly, every socioeconomic denomination. That starts to open people's eyes as to what's out there.
Yeah.
I think that makes you more giving as a human being.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you have a face and a person to the problem, it humanizes it.
Yeah, because I just remember being at school there, and it taught me a lot of hard habits to break, you know?
Yeah.
Just, I mean, not only because of the religious aspect, but because of who we were around.
Yeah.
It was mostly about, if you're different than us in any way at all,
Yeah.
you're evil.
Yeah, I think back to some of the stuff that I entertained in my head or said in high school, and I shudder because it's just.
Me too, absolutely, 100%.
And I mean, it's not entirely my fault. I think mainly that stuff is just ignorance, but it's just
nature versus nurture.
Yeah.
Our nature didn't teach us that.
No.
Our parents didn't teach us any of that either.
yeah, it was
Which is
society.
incredible.
They were taught that. I mean, yeah. Well, I see what you're saying. Not literally teaching us it.
No.
but
Our parents didn't teach us anything that I thought in high school.
Yeah,
Our parents have probably been some of the most open-minded people that we would have interacted with at that time.
probably.
But
There
interacting
were
with
some scary people.
but interacting with the people that we went to high school with was a different monster, because you had a aggressive evangelical Christian aspect,
Yeah.
which I don't have anything against Christianity whatsoever, but these people took it almost as an almost as a jihadi type of.
I was gonna say a crusade.
Yes, it was. If you don't believe in Jesus, we're gonna put a spike in your ass.
Yeah.
Like it was pretty crazy.
Well, I think what was most dangerous about it was it touted itself as a teaching students, well-rounded students who had been exposed to different viewpoints, but unfortunately, when
It was skewed.
yeah, exactly, it was framed in different ways. For example, when we read The Origin of Species, we only read the few pages in which Darwin talks about the limitations of his theory or something.
Right.
When which I think he says at this point there's no proof for and then of course you think about what happened in the next century with the discovery of fossils and stuff.
Right. And that's what drove me nuts. We had a book. I don't know if you had this, but in 8th grade, we had a book that was, it was our science class, and it was about how God made volcanoes. And
Specifically volcanoes.
I'm
They
serious.
have to prove it feature by feature, land feature
Yes. Well, I mean, volcanoes are very clearly a geologic, millions of years, plates moving over each other, friction deep below the earth, causing heat.
Well, yes.
like,
But God made it to confuse us.
but God made it to confuse us.
And he put the light from stars further than 10,000 light years away, closer to Earth, so people would
Yes.
get here at the right time.
Yes. at
Just
the
because he wanted us
exact-
to think that the universe
Right.
was really old.
That is very problematic to me, because it's teaching ignorance for the sake of ignorance.
Yeah.
Rather than some of, going to Catholic churches with Natalie and stuff like that. We went to one of the ones in College Station. It has a great Catholic church. They have a young priest who is very progressive in his thinking, and we went to a mass one day, and he was talking about evolution and how it's very obvious
Yeah.
that it's true. Why wouldn't God have... It was cool how he put it, because he said, look, why wouldn't God have spent 14 billion years making this for us if he truly loved us?
Yeah, it's more impressive.
Yeah. He said, don't you think it shows how much God really loves us if he spent this much time making it perfect for human beings to live on earth?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, see, that's how religion should think.
Yeah.
They should think scientific pairs, our scientific proof pairs with their thinking better than their thinking trumps any type of science.
Yeah, exactly. I think whether you're approaching the Bible as a believer or not, I think you have to look at it in the context of the way humans write in different periods of time, and how metaphor in poetry and parable was such a big part of the way humans wrote, and so all the books in the Bible are compiled over many centuries, and
Yes.
there were different styles of writing. There was different purpose to each of those writings, and you see the shift over the narrative. And so I think to take all of it at face value, saying every single word was literal, is just ignoring history.
It is, absolutely. And it's ignoring the real message.
Yeah.
That's what worries me so much about it, is a lot of those people dive into the details of their religion, and they start to
Missing the forest for the trees.
yeah, I mean, really, they just start to say, all right, well, if you masturbate, you're going to go to hell. And it's like, well, does Jesus watch us when we masturbate? I don't think he really cares that much. Like, I think he just wants us to be good to each other and try our best.
If I remember right, I think I've read the entire Bible, and I don't remember ever reading a verse about...
There's only one.
Is there one?
I do remember it. It's about some dude that spills his seed on the ground.
Yeah.
And God strikes him down. But according to these New Age Christians, the Old Testament doesn't count. So don't worry about that.
There was a lot of immediately striking people down in the Old Testament.
Yes, that's what's so interesting. But you got to remember, back then they didn't know medical science.
Yeah.
So like half the time people died, they were like, "Oh shit, God is mad at that guy."
Yeah, they didn't know he just had like a massive stroke or something.
Yeah. Oh God, he was jerking it and he died. Oh man,
The events were causational.
Yes.
But not in that way.
Yeah. It's gosh, growing up like that was interesting. I think it was advantageous though.
Yeah, in a way.
Well, I think it showed what closed-minded thinking could do to you.
Yeah.
It could shut you off from 90% of the people on Earth just because you disagreed on one thing.
Yeah.
Instantly.
And I think it shows if you're only the way in which you're given information and the information you're given can make you so certain and can make you so secure in certain beliefs that it kind of shocks you when you're given a more rounded perspective or given new information that all of a sudden changes everything.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword though, because some people come out of it and they don't think for themselves.
Yeah, I'd say probably a majority don't, which is unfortunate.
It is, because you're given this great opportunity to be on this planet, and I mean, every year that we live is the best year there ever was.
Yeah.
Things just advance, and you have this opportunity to be as smart as anybody's ever been on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Or advance your understanding as far as you possibly could, and some people just don't take that. They just want to say, all right, well, Jim Bob, my preacher, told me that evolution's fake, so dinosaurs aren't real.
Yeah.
God, I can't stand this whole flat earth. Dinosaurs
God,
aren't
yeah.
real.
That's so weird that in in today's age we have a growing flat Earth community, or maybe they've always been there, but they've just come out of the woodwork. I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like a really recent thing.
Yeah, it's really bizarre.
It's like a Tide Pods thing, you know? Like, these freaking idiots just come out and start eating Tide Pods, and everyone starts following them.
I was really surprised to see. Well, no, I wasn't surprised to see people eating Tide Pods. There were always probably people that would do that.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Look at Steve-O from Jackass.
Yeah.
That guy would have ate a Tide Pod in a heartbeat. I don't know. Things have gone... I can't tell if things have gotten crazy or if the news is only reporting crazy right now.
Yeah, it's probably a bit of both.
I think it's a bit of both. I haven't watched the news in like 2 years. I can't do it. I can't eat any of the television stations.
There's a lot going on.
But there's not a lot going on. It's just like, oh yeah, President Trump said his button was bigger than Kim Jong-un's today. And it's like, that's not news, guys. I don't care. I don't want to hear about Kim Jong-un or our president. Yeah. I just want to hear what's going on that could actually affect my life.
Dying in a nuclear apocalypse would be a release at this point.
Right.
Take me.
It would at least confirm our fears of North Korea, you know. God. Well, what time do you need to be back?
I'll probably need to leave pretty soon.
Okay. We can wrap it up here. We can keep going. It's up to you.
I don't know. Did you have anything else?
It's up to you. Just whatever's new in your world.
It's not a lot new.
Okay. Well, when are you going to come back and do another one? We'll pick another movie.
Let's see. I still have to bring Natalie her birthday gift, so a couple weeks.
Okay. If you want to do another one.
Yeah.
You want to pick the movie this time, or do you want me to pick another one?
I haven't done... Let me do research.
Okay.
I'll pick one.
Okay. I'll let you pick one.
I'll have to go find a really bad one.
Yes. Shitty Movie Sunday lives again. Can't wait. Well, thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, no problem.
Love you.
Love you too.
I'm glad that you're close.
Yeah.
3 hours is nothing.